I don't know. No, I didn't know that. Okay. Thank Hashem that we're able to learn every day. Here we're going to start on Pei Beis, Amud Beis, 82b, Esvei. Then it's like a line and a half from the bottom of the page. We had a machlekes between Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan. The full machlekes was Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Shmuel and Rabbi Asi in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. That if a woman took a vow that she's not going to have 2 loaves of bread, one of them would have been an affliction for her not to eat. The other one would not be an affliction for her not to eat, possibly because one of them was a nice flour, it was a fine flour. The other one was like a black bread, So according to Shmuel, the husband can annul both, even though one of them is not an affliction. But because he can annul the one that is an affliction, the other one gets drawn along. And according to Rabbi Yochanan, the husband can only annul the one that's the affliction, and the other one gets left remaining as a vow. Okay. Esvei, the Gemara is a question. It's a question on Rabbi Yochanan. The Isha Shenadra ben Nazir. Let's say a woman took a vow that she's going to become a Nazir. However, she's drinking wine. She's a Nazira, but she's drinking wine and she's going to the cemetery. She's going to get malchus. Okay. That's not a big deal. No, it's not a big deal to be malchus. It's not a big chiddush that she's going to get malchus. She violated the law, and that's obvious. Hafrla baila v'hila yada shahafrla. Let's say the husband annulled the vow, but didn't tell her that he annulled it. Yeah. So then, and she's carelessly drinking wine and going to the cemetery, thinking that she's still a Nazir, even though it was annulled already. She doesn't get malchus because the husband annulled it. She didn't know, but that doesn't matter. The annulment doesn't have to do with her knowledge. The vow wasn't there. She doesn't have to know that the vow was annulled. She took a vow.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
She needs an atonement. But it's not. Yeah, it's not. But it's not the malchus, right? Right.
That's where I was confused.
She gets malchus from that by her husband because she might not, bruised up.
Right. Right. But nevertheless, that's the punishment. The problem is, according to Rabbi Yochanan says that a husband is only allowed to annul those things that are inei nefesh. So the Amrit meifel masana vein meifel shein masana. According to Rabbi Yochanan, the husband is only allowed to annul those things that are an affliction. Dilma, perhaps, the commentaries say that you shouldn't take this perhaps too literally. It means it actually is. There is an affliction not to drink wine. That was the common drink back then. However, from the peels and from the pits of the grapes, that he didn't annul. He was only able to annul what was an affliction. According to Shmuel, once you do one annulment, you annulled everything. According to Rabbi Yochanan, he didn't annul. He only annulled the part that you're able to, which is something that would have been an affliction. So the husband would only be able to annul the wine part. The alayas leitzara, because there's no affliction not to eat grape peels and pits, but just because so she should still get malchus. The Gemara is suggesting here that maybe two possibilities here in the round. What's happening here? What is she doing? We said that she's drinking wine and she's going to the cemetery. So it sounds like from the Ran that what's happening here is, but let's say she ate the pits of the grapes. Let's say she ate the peels of the grapes. sounds like she would get Malchus, right? The way the Rush comments on this is he says that since there is an aspect of the Nazirus that's remaining, because he was only able to take off the wine. So, but he wasn't able to take off the peels and the pits, because peels and pits is not an affliction. And that would mean that she's going to the cemetery, she's still considered a Nazira. Not because of the wine, but because of the peels of the pits. She's still a Nazira. She shouldn't be allowed to go to the cemetery. Why doesn't she get Malchus? So, in other words, according to the Rush, the Gemara's question here is on the cemetery. The cemetery is still remaining. Why is it remaining? Because of the peels of the pit and the pits of the grapes. Okay. Amar Rabbi Yosef responds, Ein Naziris lachatzayin. There's no such thing as half a Naziris. So by a Nazir, even though when it came to a regular vow, he was able to annul half a vow. That was Rabbi Yechanan's rule. She took a vow not to have 2 loaves of bread. He can annul one, but not the other one. But when it comes to
with a woman who's between 12 years old or something, which is true. He needs 2 people.
She has 2 people to annul it, and we had a question there: how does it get annulled? When one person annuls it, we had a possibility that maybe it gets annulled in half. So I guess according to that's very interesting. We have to look back at that. See, we had a discussion, we had a question: does it get annulled in half this way, or does it get annulled in half this way? Remember? Yeah.
We also learned from Rabbi Akiva that if something could be annulled in half, it could be annulled in its entirety.
That's a very good question.
Oh.
We learned that if something gets annulled halfway, it's entirely annulled. But that was the answer to that question is the Ran brings that in. He says that that's when the Chacham is annulling it, because the way the Chacham annuls the vow is he turns it into a nidre tas, like the whole vow was a mistake. If the whole vow is a mistake, then everything is lost. The whole vow is gone. But over here, the husband is annulling it. He's not taking it off from the beginning. He's just stopping it from here and on. So, so over here, there's a discussion: can he annul half of it, or does he annul half of it, or does he annul all of it automatically? Shmuel says he annuls all of it, and the Rabbi Yechon says he annuls half of it. When it comes to Naziris, there's no such thing as half. Because when he annuls that, he annuls everything, even the parts of it that are not an affliction. Amalei Abaya, this is Rabbi Yosef's answer. Rabbi Yosef says that by Naziris, there's no such thing as half a Nazir. Let me see just the commentary here of the Rashi. He quotes an interesting point. He says that if someone says that I'm going to be a Nazir, but on condition that I still want to drink wine and become Tameh. So he becomes a Nazir and he's Asir from drinking wine and becoming Tameh. So he can't do that. Can't do a partial, yeah. I just had to speak at this event. Anyways, about the Alter Rebbe. Yeah, I mentioned over there the Alter Rebbe's opinion about someone that accepts Shabbos early. You can still ask other people that haven't accepted Shabbos to turn on the fire and whatever and light candles and all of that. Question is why? You can't tell a guy to do it. I mean, Ben Hashmashis is different, but if it's prohibited for you, why should you be allowed to ask someone else to do it? He says that when you're accepting Shabbos early, you're only accepting the parts of Shabbos that are on yourself, not on asking other people to do things. That aspect of Shabbos you haven't accepted. It's like an interesting thing that you can accept partial Shabbos. So it comes to Nazir, you can't accept the partial Nazir. You said Nazir, even though you try to stipulate this, it doesn't work. So when it gets annulled, it gets entirely annulled. Amalei Abaya says to Rabbi Yosef, 1 second. a karban lechatzi nazirus ika. What happens if a woman is supposed to be a nazir? She said she's going to be a nazir. It's supposed to last for 30 days. Stam nazirus shleishim yom. In the middle of the 30 days, the husband says, after 15 days, he says, okay, I'm annulling it. So she would have to bring the karbanos. You see, there is such a thing as a partial nazirus. Now this is the discussion. If you slice it like this or slice it like this, we were saying there's no such thing as a partial nazirus, that she's forbidden, she's permitted to drink wine, but she still can't eat the grapes and the peels and the pits. So that doesn't work. We're saying 1 second, but it does work the other way. It works that if it's only 15 days, she should probably have to bring the karbanos, even though that's also a half nazirus.
Because in the case of the 15 days, they're keeping the whole Naziris for 15 days.
Right.
And the other way, they're like choosing what part of the Naziris to pick. It would be
Right.
kind of like if you vow something that the Torah already prohibits.
I hear what you're saying. I'm not sure if Abaya over here at this point is saying that there clearly is a karban lachatzin naziris, because take a look what happens now. Elamar Abaya ein naziris lachatzain vein karban lachatzain. You don't have either. It must be. So in other words, he's adjusting what Rav Yosef said. Rav Yosef said ein naziris lachatzain. Abaya says, oh, it sounds like there is a karban lachatzain. He says, no, there isn't karban lachatzain. So in other words, when it says ein naziris lachatzain, it means ein naziris and karban, halfway chatzain. There's no half nazir and half nazir that would bring a karban. Okay. Meisvei, the Gemara has a question. The Isha shenadra ben nazir. Let's say a woman took a vow that she was going to be a nazir. Befrisha behemta. This detail doesn't really affect anything. Befrisha behemta. She separated her karban. Talking about that she became tamei, and she has to bring karbanos. A nazir that becomes tamei has this purification process where he has to bring an asham, a chata sa'oif, and an oila saif. Asham is the guilt offering, a sin offering, a bird sin offering, and a elevation offering, bird. 2 birds and an animal. Okay, so she became tamei and she separated her animal, her asham. But then the husband annulled the vow. Okay. So mevia chata sa'oif ve'ina mevia oila saif. She only brings one of the birds. She doesn't bring the other bird. The iyamritin karban lachatzi nazirus. But if you say that a partial nazirus doesn't bring a karban, my mevia chata sa'oif, she's not going to bring the animal, even though it was designated. I guess that's the chiddush over here, that even though it was designated, she doesn't bring it. That's why I was bringing that up. Yeah, that would probably be wait for it to get a mum and all of that stuff. So if you say that there's no karban for chatzi nazirus, so why does she have to bring a chata saif? Got annulled in the middle. Why does she have to bring this offering? Elamai. So what do you want to say? Yesh karban lachatzi nazirus. There probably is a karban. If that's the case, so shalish beimas boy. She should have to bring 3 sacrifices. Now I'm not sure what it means, shalish beimas boy. If she was a regular nazir that didn't become tamei, she would have to bring lasuy chatas eilu shlamim. She would have to bring all 3. But I think she was referring to here because we said referring to the chatas oif would have been that she's tamei. If she wanted to become tamei, that's what it means. If she wanted to become tamei, she would have had to bring these 3 animals. Okay, even though it stopped in middle. Ela liyolam, rather we must say that ein karban lachatzi nazirus, that there is no sacrifice. So why does she bring the chata saif? The Gemara says v'chata saif tamasi mishum the chata salasafik. The chata saif is an interesting karban. It could be brought even if there's a doubt. So just the fact that she took a vow that she's not going to drink wine. Originally, she could already bring a chatasai. We find that by a woman that gives birth and she wasn't sure had a miscarriage. She wasn't sure what it was that she miscarried. In general, a woman that gives birth is supposed to bring a chatas. She can bring the chatasai, even though it wasn't clear if it was actually a fetus or whatever. So the chatasai is able to be brought, even though there would be no karbanos of the nazir. Okay. More lenient.
And that's the one that she would take in the case of a partial.
Yeah. Now, what happened now is we had a question on Rabbi Yochanan. How could you say that you only get that you can annul half a vow and not the other half? What about by nazir? We see that she's free from malchus because it was totally annulled. So we answered by nazir it's different. Okay, then we had a side question of by nazir, are there karbanos if it's annulled midway? And we answered that there are no karbanos. We said 1 second, but what about the chatas aif? So we said the chatas aif is different. Now we have to go back and discuss more about Rabbi Yochanan, about annulling a partial vow and that. Eisvei, another question. Isha shenadra b'nazir, a woman that took a vow that she's going to be a nazir, v'nitmes, and she became tamei. V'achaka chefa labayla, and the husband annulled it. Maybe a chatas aif, maybe a oila saif. Okay, same story. She brings the chatas saif, she doesn't bring the oila saif. V'yamet meifil masana vein meifil shein masana. And if you're going to say that you can annul only the one that was afflicting, but you can't annul anything that's not an affliction. And even if it's one vow, you only annul part of it. Dilma, perhaps, miyayin disleitzara hefila. Maybe the husband only annulled the part of the vow of the nazir, that's the wine. But going to the cemetery, that's not an affliction for her if she can't go to the cemetery. So she won't go to the cemetery. So maybe he wasn't able to annul that. Originally, we asked on the wine itself, when the grapes, the peels and the pits are not an affliction. So we said no, he's annulling the whole thing. Now we're asking, is he annulling the tumah? Now, if we said already before, ein naziris lachatzayin, that there's no partial naziris, why are we bringing this up again for the tumah? We're asking the same question again. So it turns out that there is a possibility of being a nazir and being allowed to go to the cemetery. And that's by the Nazir Shimshon. Nazir Shimshon was a nazir for his whole life. He's only not allowed to drink wine, but he is allowed to go to the cemetery. It's a certain type of nazir. So since there's a potential for such a type of nazir, so you see that there is a concept of naziris without the laws of tumah. So maybe when the husband here was annulling the naziris, he was only annulling the wine aspect, but the tumah aspect was still remaining. Especially, it's not an affliction. Yeah.
I don't think that people go to the cemetery like for pleasure. But like in this case, if they want to go, it might be because they want to go visit like a loved one that's there. So maybe like not going wouldn't it cause an affliction?
Maybe it would cause an affliction. Yeah. Very good. That's the Gemara's answer. Amri, very good. Amri, Tumas Meis Nami Tzara. Yeah, where's the trophies? Yitzi.
Virtual.
Tumas Meis Nami Tzara. The Gemara says the adult trophies. So the Gemara answers that Tumas Meis also is an affliction for her not to go. The pasuk says that the living should take to heart. Tanya was taught in a brisa. Meir would say, what is the meaning of that the living should take to the heart? The yispid yispidun lay, they should eulogize. Yivkan yivkan lay, they would cry. Supposed to add in the words. Yilvane should accompany to the funeral. And they should take care of the burial. Now, there's a detail here that goes like this. When this person, this I'm seeing in the commentary, it's Rashi, when this person goes to the cemetery for someone else, then they go to the cemetery. That family can't be the same person because they're not around. But when you participate in people's funerals, then other people participate in that person's funeral. It's sort of like this, they do it for each other. What's going on? Things okay? Huh.
Get your things good. Get your things good. Oh, good to go.
So the benefit that you get from going to the funeral is something that she would have wanted, because when he says that you can't go to the funeral, that he's saying, she said that she's not going to go to and he doesn't, if he wouldn't remove it, then it would be an affliction for her, because then other people won't go to her funeral. Okay. Yeah. Right.
You could just remove that,
right.
Effectively removing her punishment from that.
Right.
Technically from getting punished from that.
People don't view it like that, though. People view it like, like they care about the ritual part of it. And I have this in the conversions. The Beis Din sometimes prolongs the conversion. They say, you're not ready for this, not ready for that. And the people get very frustrated. They say, what's the problem? You want to act like a Jew, so act like a Jew. No one's stopping you. You're like, what's the problem? No, I need it to be counted. And it's not it's the same thing, right? The woman doesn't want to say just to keep the vow or whatever, even though it's been she wants it. If the vow's off, the vow's off. It's not, it has to be real, not practice.
But in that case, that the husband annuls the vow and she keeps, like, if it was not annulled, like, what is she a Nazir or is she?
If the husband
Annuls the
vow
and she ignores that and she just keeps following,
so she's not a Nazir.
okay.
So that's what Nassim saying. Yeah, for no reason.
Okay.
I'm holding up the Mishnah on Pei Gimel Lamed Beis. So yeah, we did from the Esvei until until the Mishnah. Okay. The Itchy Kaduzi, the Itchy Kaduzi, the videos about that, right? I think one of them was Chana went into a time machine and he went in for 6 hours and something, and he said it really worked. The time machine worked because the milk that he had is already spoiled, and so Kainam Shani Nena Labrias Eniachal Lahafer. Okay, this sort of contradicts everything that we've learned. It says that she takes a vow that she's not going to have benefit from anyone. The husband can't annul it because, but what about the affliction part? She's not going to have benefit. We said before, she's not going to have benefit from an individual. We said it said that was affliction. The husband can annul it. But here she's not going to have anyone in the world, and the husband can't annul it. So the answer to that is that was actually machlekes between the Rabbanan and Rabbi Yossi. And this Mishnah is following Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi says that no, not getting benefit from an individual is not a problem. Question is over here, but how is she going to survive if she's not going to get benefit? The answer must be that she's getting benefit from her husband, and the husband is not considered the rest of creation. She says she's not going to get benefit from any of the creations, the brias, any of so that excludes the husband. I wonder what she's thinking.
Otherwise, she couldn't annul it. She's getting benefit.
Yeah, but it wouldn't mean that annulling would be the benefit. Benefit means that to bring food, it would have to be like a physical benefit.
And that would be because once they're married, they're considered one.
Could be. It could be. The big question here is, what does she mean when she says it? It has to do with the language, the usage of the terms, creations. I'm not going to have benefit from anyone. She probably means everyone outside her house. That's what the assumption here is.
We had something similar with the produce that they wanted, if it was from the country where she's at, like
Right.
she would be able to annul.
Right. Immediately, right. Okay, then it goes on and it says, this is a little bit of a problematic line because it says that she can have benefit from the gifts that are given to the poor. Leket shikha peya. Leket. Those are made hefker. Now, the idea over here is that she's not being given those gifts; she's taking those. Those are left because it says tazay. You should leave them. So she's not having benefit from anyone else by taking those gifts. The problem with this is that if she's still being supported by her husband, then why is she being considered poor? The answer could be the husband's poor. No, because she said she has to have a husband because it says Eini yachol lahafer, that he can't annul it. There has to be a husband there. Why? And the explanation for why he can't annul it is because he's supporting her. So okay, so he'll be the only one to support her. If he's the only one to support us, then why is she poor? We'll see in the Gemara. The Gemara is going to challenge like what's going on here.
I'm not sure, but she wouldn't be able to take such vow because in the Tuba it says that he's going to support her. No?
Yeah, she's allowed to take that vow. He's not. He wouldn't be allowed to take a vow that I'm not going to support because he would have that obligation. She doesn't have an obligation to accept the support. He has an obligation to provide the support. Yeah. Then it says kainam kayanim leviyim nanimli. Kayanim and leviyim cannot have benefit from me. So yitlo al karchay. That's not a problem. They can still take it against her will. It doesn't have to be annulled. Why is that? Why can they take it to having benefit from her? The answer is that the items that go to the kayan, the only benefit that she would have for this is that she can choose which kayan to give it to. Now, that choice is considered that ability to choose which kayan has a certain value to it. Now, when she gives it, if we say that it doesn't have a value, then when they take it, they're not getting benefit from her because there was no value to that ability to choose. The value would just be the items themselves. The items themselves not coming from the woman. It's coming from Hashem, sort of. It's like a gift. Okay. What happens if kayanim elu leviyim elu nanimli? Let's say she distinguishes a specific kayanim or specific leviyim. Says these should not have benefit for me. So yitlo acherim, then other people should take the trumas and maasros, not the kayanim that she forbade. Okay, the Gemara goes back to discuss when she's taking a vow that she's not going to have any benefit from any of the creations in the world. Alma after the mitzvah midilai must mean if the husband can't annul a vow like that, it must mean because he's able to support her, and that's why she's surviving. Michlal, this implies the baal lav b'chlal briyasu, that the husband is not considered one of the creations that she just vowed from. Ema Seifa, let's go further. She's able to have benefit from the leket shiklampeya, from the stalks that are left there, that fall down when they're harvesting, and the forgotten bundles in the field, and the corners of the field that are left to the poor. Sounds like she's only eating from that, but she's not eating from the husband. She's eating from what the poor people get, right? Because if she was eating from the husband, then she wouldn't be poor. Alma Baal B'chal Briyasu. Obviously, the vow included the husband. So you have a contradiction between the first line and the second line. Does the vow that she's not going to have benefit from any creations include the husband or not? It's a question on the usage of the term creation. Does it include, does she have in mind the husband or not? Amar Ula, gonna have three answers here. Amar Ula. Ula says, La'olam, supposed to say Baal Lav B'chlal Briyasu. The husband is not included in the vow. So what does that mean? So how is, if she's able to have benefit from the husband's going to fully support her, then why is she taking from what the poor people take? And another reason why the husband can't annul, because she's able to get benefit from the leket shikhupeya. So in other words, even if the husband is poor, there's two reasons why the husband can't annul the vow. First of all, there's no affliction here, because she's not getting benefit from anyone else, but she's getting benefit from the husband. So she's not afflicted, she's fully provided for. And even if you're going to tell me that the husband is poor and can't provide, you still can't annul it, because she's able to get from what the poor people take. So there's still no affliction here. So it's just giving a second reason why there's no affliction, and that the husband can't annul it, if the husband would have been poor. Okay. That's answer number one. Rav Amar Lailam Baal B'chlal Briyasu. Really, the husband is included in the creation. That means that the husband can't support it. And now it's saying, what's the reason why the husband can't annul the vow if the husband himself can't support it? Where's she getting her support from? Because she's able to get from leket shiklampeya, from what the poor people get. Now, on this is a huge problem, huge question. Question is that we said before that if there's only one person that can support, only one person that can support that can support them. One storekeeper, the husband was allowed to annul it, right? Even according to Rabbi Yossi, that is very limited on what's considered inay nefesh, what's considered an affliction. The husband can annul it. If she takes a vow that excludes the husband from supporting her, the vow says in the vow it's included now that the husband can't support her, and she has to go somewhere else, then that's clearly an affliction. So why before did we say that from one store? Okay, she says there's only one store that gives us credit. She takes a vow, and I'm not going to have benefit from that store. So everyone agreed that the husband can annul that vow, and we explained because that's an affliction, and even according to Rabbi Yossi. But let her go to get leket shiklampeya. Let her go take from the poor. Over here, you're saying no one can support her. No, not a creation. No one, no stores, no husband. No one can support her. And we say it's not an affliction. Go get leket shiklampeya. Right. It's a contradiction. So the Ran quotes Ram Bar Shneir. You know, the Ram Reb Moshe Menachem. Or Shneir. Shneir is not such a common name, but apparently the Rishonim use the word Shneir. Two lights.
Isn't the husband about to any nether?
Only if it's of affliction, or if it's between them, and something that affects between them. So he says over here that the reason why he's not able to annul it is because the leket shiklampeya have already been collected. She has the food available. Over there, it wasn't collected yet. You can't just say, well, go find food in leket shiklampeya. How do you know you're gonna find it? and this maybe the other poor people took it, or here it's already been collected and they have it already. That's why you can't annul it. Yeah, that's his answer. Okay. So far we have two answers. We have Ula's answer that the husband is allowed to support her. So then why do you have to mention the Leket Shikhan Peya? Well, maybe he's poor, and they would take from there, so there's no affliction. Rava's answer: the husband is not allowed to support her, and the whole reason why he can't annul the vow is because they're taken from Leket Shikhan Peya. And then, with the explanation to that is that the Leket Shikhan Peya was collected already. Reb Nachman Amar, Reb Nachman says, "La'ilam ba'alav b'chlal b'yisur." The husband is allowed to support her, and it works like this. It's how is she able to take from the Leket Shikhan Peya if the husband's supporting her? Goes this explained like this: Niskarsha, if he divorced her, he's allowed to support her now. But when he divorces her, what happens? He becomes Bechlal Brias. He becomes one of the people that she took a vow that she's not going to have benefit from. She said she's not having benefit from anyone in the world. Okay, that's excluding the husband because the husband is right there. I mean, she means everyone else. When he divorces her, he becomes one of everyone else. And then, but then she's able to take from the Leket Shikhan Peya. Okay. The Ran over here goes through a whole discussion about if the husband is not considered part of the vow when she took the vow. So how does he become part of the vow afterwards? And he got into this with someone that takes a vow that he's not gonna have benefit from people that travel by sea, from any sailors. And there was a person that lived on the dry land, but then became a sailor. What happens then? He says it's Machlekes Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Kiva. But anyway, the Ran goes to this nice long piece here. He's explaining that there's a Machlekes the Bavli and the Yerushalmi about this. But apparently, according to our Gemara, the husband does become part of it does switch from when the vow was taken to when the vow is being fulfilled, and the person would become part of that.
Everybody's also right? They're also for anyway. So what would you say? Well, after she gets divorced,
Right.
become also for her. So none of those people were in the promise when she made the promise. Only promise after she got divorced.
The Ran viewed this. It really went the other way also. If he says it works the other way. If it works, he takes a vow from someone that's a sailor, and then the person comes onto the dry land. Does he now leave the vow? Because now he's not. It's the same discussion. Okay. Have a nice day, everyone.